when I started, it was literally because I was having anxiety every single day. And I was like, okay, I'm at a point where I can afford someone, even if it is just part-time. Let's just do that and alleviate that stress from me. But the thing that I would redo is the position that I hired for. I would go for a PM and then remain the PPC specialist, because then at that point, you don't have to retroactively switch out roles and stuff like that. But then like you continue to be happy. Like I just wanted to stay happy. That's literally the purpose of my whole existence at this point, is just trying to find ways to stay happy. I'm thankful that I figured it out, but I'm sad that it took me a little while to really hone that in.
Hello and a warm welcome to this episode of the PPC Chat Roundup. This is a podcast where I not just round up the Slack discussion, but now start having fantastic conversations and discussions with paid search experts in our field. I'm your host, Anu, recording from my studio here in London, UK. I use this platform to share not just expert, but also my ideas and considered best practices about paid media and the direction the digital industry is going in. So that wonderful voice that you heard right at the beginning of, that intro is our lovely guest today, Ameet Khabra, who has been in the industry for so many years. And she is someone who I just love following in terms of her, whether it's a LinkedIn post or a Twitter post or a Threads post, because it's such a varied subjects, from talking about paid search, the annoyances of it, but also sometimes the fun parts of her dating life, or just the things that are going on in her parts of the world. Welcome, Ameet. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Threads is definitely the place for my unhinged thoughts. So if you want anything that's outside of PPC, where I'm just like random thinking, that's the place to go.
Lovely. Yeah, we talked about that. Me too. That is where I detail the dates that have gone wrong. And I'll just laugh about this now. I'll just put it out there in the universe and laugh about it. Why not?
Why not? Really, if it can make someone else laugh, I think it's still like a successful story. That's just always my purpose of conversations. If I can make you laugh at least once or twice, I know that I succeeded.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. Because for me, it's just that notion of, oh, I made you a little bit happier for even like maybe 5 seconds. So it's, my little way of spreading good deeds in the world without having to try too hard, if that makes sense.
Amazing. No, it totally makes sense. So we've heard a little bit there at the beginning about a bit of your journey, but I'm sure that has really piqued people's interest about, oh, wow, what does Ameet do? How does she roll into the paid search industry right now? So for those who shockingly don't know, Ameet, tell us who you are and what you do specifically in the world of paid search.
Yeah, so I am Ameet Khabra, or the AdWords girl everywhere on the internet. Very aware. I feel like I have to say this every single time. I'm very aware that it's called Google Ads now. I just don't want to
Yes.
let go of the moniker. It's just too good. It means too much to me. So we're keeping it AdWords for as long as I can possibly continue to do.
Yeah, Google Ad Girl doesn't quite have the same ring to it either, right? Does it? No.
So then when they changed the name, I remember I was like polling everybody on Twitter, and they were like, yeah, change it. And I did for 2 seconds, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So I went back and I'm like, screw you guys. That was bad advice.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm the owner of Hopskip Media. We're an online marketing agency specializing in pay-per-click advertising, mainly Google and Meta, but we'll do other platforms whenever it makes sense. I've been in the industry for 16 years-ish now. Yeah, I was 19 when I started my first company.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't really understand the motivation. I'm not going to lie to you.
Wow. Oh, wow. But sorry, guys, we're going to get into some fantastic, great PPC questions, but that is a story that we need to hear a little bit about. You started at 19. Why?
Someone told me that they thought I couldn't, and I had to prove them wrong.
Yes. Love it. You don't think I dare? Okay, then.
It was just one of those things. I was like, clearly you don't know who I am. Like, I am that person where it's just, oh, you can't jump that chasm. I'm going to go jump it. Let's see what happens really at this point. And I was volunteering with an organization, and I had started volunteering with another one. And then somewhere in there, I was like, oh, maybe I should do my own. And then everyone caught wind of that, and they were like, no, this is too hard. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do this. And then I did it. Not only did I do it, I was the only female founder at that time.
Wow.
In that space. I did it with the youngest team on record, and I did it basically by myself for most of it. Like the event day, I couldn't do obviously without other people, but like the actual organization of all the events, because it was an event planning company,
Sure.
all
Okay.
done by me. So I just sat there. And then when I walked into year 2 and I had a couple extra people, I just sat around looking at them and I'm like, what now? What now? Wow. And like one of our biggest competitors actually cited me in their in their press release about why they weren't going to do their largest event anymore. Cause they're like, oh, there's just so many great other younger, smaller events that are coming out. And I was like, just say it. I wiped you out. Just say it.
Just that's amazing.
It was, yeah, probably. I wish I like printed that and kept it somewhere. That's one of my biggest regrets actually in life at this point, is that I did not keep that PR, because it's just beautiful. Absolutely and utterly beautiful. I'm like, you basically just told me I won without telling me that I won. And
Right.
it only took me a year.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So how did you get into paid search?
A little bit with that company, basically. So I was in school for business administration with a minor in entrepreneurial leadership. And I know that sounds like I always knew I was going to run a business. I really, truly didn't. I just like, all my friends in high school knew this. Like they had this notion. And now when I look back at my yearbook from grade 12, you'll see like little references of, oh, Ameet, you're going to buy a McDonald's and then you're going to buy another one and then you're going to dominate the world. Like they saw it and I never really did, which is cute to see now where I'm like, oh, wow, I guess I've always been like this person.
Yeah.
So then I went off and decided to just follow suit with whatever they thought I should be doing. And then I got into macro and microeconomics and I hated it. I couldn't understand it. It didn't make any sense. So then I looked at my credits and I was like, okay, what's the most amount of credits that I could take from this and port it over to something else? And that was the marketing diploma. And that's how I ended up in marketing, basically.
Right.
And then we had one class, it was 3 hours long, about online marketing. So email, social, ads, analytics, like everything, all in 3 hours. And for whatever reason, and I think it was probably because of the certifications at that time, I wrote Google Ads and analytics down in my notebook, going, do the certifications or something along those lines. And then a year later, when I had left, obviously, the school and then had moved from British Columbia to Alberta, I opened up my notebook and saw Google Ads and analytics sit there. And I was like, oh. So then I went and got certified. And then I'm like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And I ended up applying for a PM role, actually, which is funny because we were just talking about how I hate being a PM.
Yep.
But I didn't know that at that time. So I walked into an agency in Edmonton and I was like, okay, I want to be a PM. Let's do this interview and all this stuff. And the founder of the company kept on asking me questions, obviously. And at the end of it, he's like, oh, let me show you the office. Let's walk around. Let's do this whole thing. And then I get home and about 2 hours later, I want to say I get a call from him. And that's pretty, for me at that time, like that was pretty typical. Like people really liked me, right?
Oh, nice.
So then he calls and he's like, I've got good news and bad news. And I was like, oh, shit. So I'm like, okay, what's the bad news? And he's, you're not a project manager, man. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I'm like, what's the good news? And he's like, you're an analyst. And I was like, oh, okay. So then he tried to create a position for me. He couldn't, which was sad. But like at the same time, he's like Brian Smith of Blue Train. I'm going to say his name fully and with my whole heart. He's the reason why I ended up here, really, at this point, because he just took this person who didn't really know what they were doing and he just shifted them. And then that was it. I just ran off to the races. And he's still a really dear friend of mine. I actually just saw him a couple of days ago when I was in Edmonton. Love him so much. But yeah, he's part of that origin story for me. He really just redirected me a little bit. So then when I did get certified and somebody asked me to come in for an interview, I went in with, oh no, I'm an ads person. This is what I do now.
Yeah.
And then I landed that job and I went from basically my random spending of $6,000 a year from my company to like 4.3 million, essentially overnight. And then, yeah, it just catapulted me because you go from that spend discrepancy and you're going to learn really quickly or you're going to fail really quickly. And I got very lucky that I was the former, where I just floated because I have a little bit of an obsessive personality. So if I want to learn something, I want to know everything. Tell me the inside, the outside, in between, all of it. And that's served me pretty well so far. That's the story of how I got into ads.
Oh, amazing. That sounds great. Yeah. And just a little bit more about that whole journey from you worked with agencies. Agencies, am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So the first one I worked for was it was an automotive. It was an agency within a company, basically. Okay. So yes, no, it's more corporate. And then I went off to an agency. And then after that is when I ended up freelancing and then eventually starting Hopskip Media.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's journey's life. And was it just that one company you worked for before you went freelancing, or did you try out? Was it quick into you knew you wanted to do this on your own 2 feet? or it took a little bit of a while?
It took a little while. Actually, I don't think I actually really thought I'd ever freelance or even start my own agency. It wasn't something that was like a thought or even on the radar. So when I started at the automotive agency, it was just that. I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. And then they were very much, oh, your ads, you stay here. So like whenever I was asking questions about web dev and what happened to the leads and stuff like that, I would always come up against a wall because they're like, no, these are your walls. Here are the lines that you stay in. Don't step out of them. And I could understand it to a certain degree, but at the same time, I was like, I need full circle. Like I need to see what happens here. So then that's when I went off to an agency. So I never actually worked for Brian, unfortunately. I actually ended up somewhere else, which kind of sucks. But then I also think about it. And I'm like, if I ended up with Brian, I'm like, I don't know if I would have ever left. I don't know if I ever would have started my own thing because we just get along really well. So I'm like, there needs to be friction for someone to move, right?
Absolutely.
So that's basically what I was met with at the agency. I had a lot of friction there. So I was like, okay, I'm very happy to leave you guys.
I need to move on and do better things. And amazing.
And then I got really lucky because as I got my job at the agency, another agency had reached out and they're like, could you come in for an interview? And I was like, I've already picked up this job. I'd like to see this through now. I can't quit after a week. That's just not a great look. So then he came back and goes, would you freelance? And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was an option. And that's how that freelancing came into place. It was just like being in the right place at the right time. Kind of
amazing. Yeah. And keeping in touch with the right people and just making sure keep in touch with people. And as something that has definitely rung through in the past few interviews I've done is people are like, hang out with the right people, make sure you have the right people in your life. And I know definitely believe in that because very much part of the PPC chat community. I definitely believe in that, and that's why I started PPC Live. I don't know. It's one of those things almost, it's like, someone didn't quite dare me, but it was like, why isn't there networking events for PPC like there is for SEO somewhere? And it's an SEO person was like, we don't know, but you're the PPC person. Why don't you're the one that should give us the answer to that? And I was like, okay, so let's give it a shot.
enough.
And and it's not easy going, but I definitely do see absolutely the value in it and the fact that we need something like that.
It is hard to run something by yourself, right? That's just like, obviously other business owners will understand it, but the ones that have partners have a little bit of a far removed kind of viewpoint just because like you have somebody to lean on at all times. Like you can take that vacation and be okay with the fact that your partner's handled everything. I don't have that luxury and I'm not complaining in any way. I'm very happy with how everything worked out for me. Everything did work out for me. So I literally no complaints on my end. But does it get to me sometimes where I'm like, oh, damn, like I wish I could plan like a vacation and actually go? Yeah, of course. But would I change it for anything? Probably not. I'm very happy with how things are. I can take a random day off if I need to. I can leave after this podcast. I might not even go back to work. Who knows?
Yeah.
I have that flexibility. So I'm like, with the trade-off, I'm like, I'm fine with it. Yeah. I've been able to create that space for myself. But it's definitely very hard to do things by yourself. So congratulations to you for PPC Live and everything that you've done on that front, because it's actually quite amazing if you really think about it. Like the events are like, I wish I was in the UK. Like I'm actually really pissed off.
Oh, yeah, guys. So those who are in the UK, you have no excuse. People in Canada, because you're in Canada, of course.
Yeah, we don't really have a lot of that. And are actually, even when I was in Edmonton, the way that I was able to create my network was going to meetups. But like they were always for UI, UX, web dev, SEO, social media. There wasn't a PPC one. Like I was literally like almost like the lone wolf out there. So you've got PPC that's like an isolated job at that time. And then you've got your single founder and then all of these things. And you're just like, oh, damn, this is a lot.
Yeah.
So
we're the afterthought. And I think honestly, from most of the PPC events I saw happening, it was like a track or like an afternoon of it at an SEO event. Brighton SEO, love Kelvin and Kelvin Newman, what he's done. And he now has taken over HeroCom. So it's going to make it a PPC and SEO. When he started it, and it would have been in response to the industry and the interest and how many people came. It was mainly SEO, an event, and maybe there'll be an afternoon of PPC like the day before. And I even went to speak at some of the events. And after a while, when PPC Live died, a day of PPC Live came, I was like, why am I a PPC person talking at an SEO event? Why we want PPC people talking about PPC events? And so that's really what I I wanted. But anyway, people are listening to us going, are they going to really talk about anything specific to PPC? We are. We also think those kind of conversations for business owners and people who are freelancing and agency owners are important. That's for you guys. Not enough people touch on those topics that we just mentioned. So I'm happy
Okay, I don't
that we
think
went
so.
down. Yeah, I'm happy we went down that lane. But yeah, let's talk about some of good friends at Google and other platforms. And starting off with how they annoy us. I think that's almost like the easiest part thing. We always have a long list to talk about.
We could just talk about like the last 2 weeks alone, and there's plenty of content
to talk about. But just in general, on the whole, what's your biggest frustration with like Google ads or even Microsoft ads and like the platforms in general? Specifically?
I think right now it's just the scale at which the changes are happening is really hard to manage. So even today, I had posted something about the credit card changes the payment changes that I had written actually for you. And Anthony Higman responded back and was like, oh, I think it was CFPB. I might get the acronym wrong.
Yeah.
Who had started watching over Google. And that's why they've slowed down on like actually having businesses change from credit card, debit cards to bank transfers. And I remember just sitting there and I'm like, I don't even remember those news. Like I don't even remember that coming out because I'm like, now the velocity at which it's coming at, it's just so much. Like last week alone, I think there was 3 updates that pissed me off. Like it's never been like this at this volume before. So I think that's really where my annoyance is really coming in now, where it's just, could you slow down a little bit so we can keep up? Because now it feels like you're deliberately doing this so we can't keep up. Yeah, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. And Boris, who I interviewed like last week, pretty much said the same thing. He's literally like, yep, the volume of the updates, like we can't handle how quickly they're coming out and just understanding what they are before the next one comes along. It's not like we're going to necessarily say it's annoying or not annoying. We don't even understand it necessarily before the next one comes out. So give us time to digest the news the updates as they're coming out. And that's what we consider I write for search engine learning. I'm like, yeah, it keeps me busy, but do I really want to be this busy?
That's it. And that's just so much knowledge to have in, right? Like, and not to bring up bad memories, but like going back to the pandemic, right? Like we remember we were consuming so much information that our brains basically just started losing memory because we were processing like, I can't remember what the percentage was, but significantly more information that we've ever processed before. And I feel like it's almost like that again, where it's just like constantly something bombarding us. And I'm like, okay, what's going to slip through the cracks? What memory is going to go now?
Yeah.
And that just sucks for me because I'm like, I can feel it. Like I know when my memory's starting to plummet a little bit. And I was like, oh, this isn't great. Because I'm like, now I'm doing so much reading that like we're not even having time to implement and look before another change comes in.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the bigger annoyance is coming in is just, okay, can you get me like a week to figure this one out for this side? So before I have to go figure something else out, like, it's irritating. It's really irritating.
Yeah, I can imagine. Also, now moving to specifics like automation ways of doing things. I know you are a fan of doing, especially bid strategies, not necessarily every part of automation, but bid strategies on the fantastic webinar that we did for SMX Advanced last year. You spoke about, manual is not something that you run on your clients' campaigns anymore. How come you've taken that stance, and what are your favorite bid strategies to implement on your clients' accounts?
Ooh, good question. So the reason why I stopped with manual is one, the fact that it is manual now and it's just a little bit harder to manage. The other half of it is just, I really wanted to start taking advantage of the machine learning that's happening on the smart bidding side of things. Like it's actually being able to process data that like I might not be able to process. It's able to pick up patterns that I might not be able to pick up. So then I just sat there. Originally, it was just like random little testing. If you asked me this maybe about 5-6 years ago, I would have never touched smart bidding. I would have been like manual all the way. This is the only way. I control everything. I know all. That was really my stand. Yeah. And then over the last couple of years, I was like, okay, let's like start implementing and seeing what happens here. And we've seen just really great results that I just don't think I would have been able to do had I not leveraged that. Yeah. So then it's just a matter of figuring out how to make these bid strategies work. So like, my favorites are always going to be TROAS and TCPA. TCPA is probably my favorite because we do a lot of lead gen work. Okay. I just love it. It's just great. You give it a little bit of flexibility of 10 to 20%, and it just does exactly what it needs to do. Nice. And really, you do need to have the conversions in place. So at least 30 before you actually go off and switch over. But before then, obviously, I just go with the max conversion unless it's like a low spending account, then I might go max clicks just to feed as much information as I possibly can to see what's hitting, what's not, and then maybe move over to max conversions. But if it's like a real estate account or something that's spending a couple $1,000s a month, then I go straight for max conversions because I know that Google knows what that lead looks like. They already have that information from everybody. If not from our other accounts, because we've done quite a bit of work in real estate, they should be able to figure it out. That's really the reason why I've left manual and went over to the smart side of bidding.
Amazing. And I feel like when Google introduced smart bidding and when it was in the aims of just bidding strategies, I feel a lot of people were on board with that. We were really done with manual. We maybe some people that they still did manual will do it maybe because of brand, because they wanted a tight control of brand. They didn't need to be spending as much. They knew where they were. They knew what their return would be, and then they'll do smart bidding elsewhere. But the small smart that they slapped on loads of other things, smart shopping, smart campaign, smart, people are like, yeah, you guys are making us lose the meaning of smart now, because you're really trying to test some of these smart functionalities. Some of them were not working the way you want them. So like, how smart can they be if it's not actually doing the revenue?
Mediocre building. It's mediocre bidding instead now. We're going to change the name.
It's mediocre, a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, you've really got to. Yeah, I think they were trying to a branding strategy in that way. You just slap smart and everything. People psychologically will think, oh, that must be a good thing because it's smart. And you're like, guys, you're gonna kill the meaning of smart. So maybe not do that.
That is a problem. But then I still talk to people who are still doing manual, and you can just see how frustrated and like tired they are because it's just so much to manage. So then like I go back and forth about it, because the other day I was like, do we go back to manual with one of these accounts just to see what would happen? And I was like, but it's already doing so well. Like we don't have to. This is an account that I've been managing for 4 or 5 years at this point. I'm like, it's singing the way it needs to. I don't really have to touch a lot of it. I just monitor and then make random little adjustments wherever we need to, and we're good. Like it's a low, what's the word for it? Low effort account now, because we have already front loaded all that effort. So I was like, why would I change that just to make myself miserable? It's just one of those moments where I'm like, if we've already figured it out, why bother?
Absolutely. Don't mess with what's actually working. Really. Totally understand. Now, going deeper into the world of, talking about automations and our favorite camping type of the season, PMax. It's a come up. It has to come up with conversation. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And especially with recent updates from Google, what has been like your favorite updates that have come up of late?
Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite update. What I like PMax for is e-com, especially if you go like singular, like if you're going feed only. And then you're able to break those out from like the heroes to the non really good, or let's say we call them zombies. I didn't know what else to call them, but like the zombies, like the dead ones in a sense, whatever's in the middle and stuff like that. So like really working with the client to figure out what margins look like has been really fun. I love doing that kind of work because I'm like, okay, let's figure out what the actual true CPA needs to look like then. Let's look at these things and really figure this out. And PMax for ecom, once you're again able to get to a certain conversion point, it does phenomenal work. What I don't like it for is lead gen at this moment. I know that Menachem has figured it out. I know he talks about that quite a bit. And I've read all of his articles, and I know he's basically telling us exactly, and I still haven't been able to replicate it as well. I don't know what's, like, he's just magic at this point in my mind. Like, has to be.
Honestly, I need now, because this is the second time he's been referred, and I need to book him on he needs to come on the podcast. I need to come and say, everybody.
It needs to be strictly, just literally strictly, just be like, tell us about PMax with lead gen. That is all we need.
Whole episode. Tell us how to do it step by step. This is our whole for people.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love that. That would be like on repeat for me, because like I'm at this point where I just like abandon PMax for lead gen, and we've just noticed that search just does a significantly better job for our clients. So that's just the route that we've just taken. But would I love to be able to figure out PMax for lead gen? Of course. Why not? It's able to find other people that we haven't necessarily thought of or been able to identify. Like, why wouldn't I want to have a wider reach and potentially better conversions? Yeah, please have him on here. I would love it.
Absolutely. He's writing an article for BBC Live right now. I think he'll be a great guest. I just need to find time in his calendar, and definitely will do that. Another thing I was going to mention is that, yeah, so in terms of updates, the latest one that I wrote about is the fact that, yeah, negatives has gone up from before you could add 100 negatives.
Mhm.
The campaign that has gone up to 10,000 negatives. Good news. Do you want more? Is that when
I struggle with it a little bit because so when we were, and when I say we, I mean like the PPC community. This was
Sure.
not me leading the charge in any way, but we were having conversations with Google with Ginny Marvin
Yeah.
about the 100 max that was there beforehand,
Yeah.
and her reasoning was because PMax is essentially one of those things that's supposed to go out and find things for us. We don't want to be too restrictive on it. And when she gave that answer, I actually understood it and I could get behind it because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that makes logical sense to me. Like, it's basically a 5-year-old in a candy store. If you start putting blinders on it, they're not going to be able to go find like that one specific candy that might change their life, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Understood it. So I find the 10,000, which is significantly more than the 100, quite interesting. So then I'm just wondering, I don't know, I'm just wondering what the effects are going to be once people start passing that 100 threshold on the negative side of things. And is that actually really going to improve in performance, or is it going to have a negative effect on performance? Because now we've been like, okay, no, you can only go here. And what if there's potentially something off on the left or something like that, that obviously PMax isn't able to go look at because now we have so many negatives restricting it from doing that? It feels like we're going backwards from what PMax is supposed to be a little bit, which I do understand is Google answering or giving the community what we've been asking for, which is a little bit more restriction. I just honestly, I think for me, I would rather just have them like just lift up the hood and let us see what's happening and not let us have the restrictions. I think that would make me feel better. So like I know that they have that reporting coming out soon that kind of looks like
The channel reporting.
was it the behavior? Yeah, behavioral that one. And I remember I just sat there and I was like, it looks a little bit like GUA, like that behavioral report that I used to look at.
Okay.
Like a cross between Optimizer's PPC Investigator.
Okay.
Because it goes through. So with PPC Investigator, you can put in whatever the campaign is or whatever, and then it'll tell you how many impressions. Then it'll tell you the clicks, and then it'll tell you where the conversions came through and all of that great stuff. So then you can pinpoint what happened. And that report looks like that to me. I haven't gotten a full shot of it. I know that you wrote an article about that, I'm pretty sure. I haven't read that one yet, but like the screenshots that I got was from somebody who works somewhere. I can't say where. He works somewhere and he was like, oh, we're talking to our Google rep today. Look at this reporting. So like under the NDA, obviously he wasn't technically allowed to show it. So that's why I couldn't really release those pictures or anything because I was like, I'm not throwing him under the bus.
Of course.
Especially when he has access to like such cool stuff. Why would I want to ruin that for myself?
Yeah.
So he sent me that. And when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that kind of is giving me like that vibe that it's like half of UA and they're picking up from what Optimizer was doing a little bit.
Okay.
Where it breaks out into different sections of, oh, this is what the impressions did. This is what the clicks did. Here are conversions. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to give us a little bit more of an understanding of where the money's going at the very least, or like for the folks who aren't utilizing Optimizer or third-party tools that are able to pull that for us.
Okay.
Because Optimizer is able to tell us where that distribution is. I think that'll help a lot of people as well. And then maybe that'll help them shift their strategy. If we're seeing too much display, then maybe we'll start removing images or something like that.
Yeah.
Counteracting what Google's doing in terms of the PMax algo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest thing for me, like for PMax, is that we've got to just re-understand that it's PMax does not make campaign management easier. And I think that's what's maybe frustrating people. People I've heard that PMax is the automated campaign, the automated one that it should be a matter of just put a few ads in, keywords that you want to bid on, or even just a landing page where you want to send people through. And it's, oh, why is it doing all these things that I don't like? Because you've not set it up correctly. Go in and stop complaining about it and actually set it up correctly. Then it will do the thing that you want it to do.
It's just reminiscent of those express campaigns, the smart campaigns that people are still like. I actually just was looking at one yesterday. Like somebody had called and was like, can you help me optimize this? And I'm like, how do you optimize a smart campaign? Because I'm like, I haven't touched this in a while. And I started going through it and I'm like, you can't even make bid adjustments on devices.
Oh, wow.
So then like they were sending money to tablets and desktops, but like all of the conversions were coming through mobile. So I was like, take out desktop and tablet. Like what logic are we using here? And then it was like, and then with location bidding, you can change that up. But it was just like these random little things where even like with the keywords, it'll tell you how many impressions or clicks you got, but it won't tell you the conversions. And
Oh my
and then
God.
I just
Yeah.
sat there and I like looked at the person that I was talking to and I'm like, go back to your client and tell them to can this idea.
Yeah.
Go straight search and then have more control over it. But
Yeah.
you're going to have to spend more money really at this point.
Yeah.
And that was just interesting. And I kind of just sat there and I'm like, oh, this kind of feels like, oh, the early ages of PMax. This was PMax back in the day
Yeah.
where we didn't really get to do anything. We saw what was happening to a certain degree, but like it was just, we couldn't do anything. Our hands were tied.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this whole like giving us more levers, more control, which is good. But I also think to myself, because yeah, what you mentioned earlier on is we'd to just see under the hood. Maybe these are just distractions from never. They're just like, they want more negative. Sure, we'll give them more negative.
It's like me bribing my niece and nephew, right? When they're like, I'm not going to eat. I'm like, here's a Skittle.
Yeah.
Now you can eat, do it. And they fall for it every single time. It's beautiful. I love it. But eventually at some point it's going to stop. They're going to get smart, right? The 5-year-old's not going to stay 5 forever.
No.
He's going to start asking questions pretty soon.
No. He's going to realize what's going on. So yeah. I feel like we've only chatted for 10 minutes here, but it's been over. You know. We're both busy people, so we are not going to be on this for too long. So let us get into what I like to call like our soft questions of the exit questions of like being surviving in this industry and your go-to your ways of taking care of yourself. What's one thing you'd like to leave people with in terms of an advice of making it in this industry?
I'm a firm believer of just putting your head down and just getting the work done. And that's even for just content generation as well. I want to see more diversity. I'm not going to lie here. That's always been my little bit of my pedestal that I've been standing on for a little bit, where I'm just like, I get that the industry is not easy. I get that creating content is very hard and incredibly scary at the same time. But I really want to encourage people just to talk about it, even if they're not like expecting anything out of it. I think it's just really cool to be able to create content or to show what you do for a living and show your passion towards it. So that way somebody else can see that as well and figure out their stuff out. So one of the greatest, I guess, pleasures of my career, and especially on the content side of things, is that obviously I get to talk to a lot of people. But like my favorite story is from a couple of years ago where I was talking to this person. She was also in Google Ads, Meta. And we would just talk ads all day, basically. And then all of a sudden she like just disappeared for several months. And I was just like, oh, this is so weird, right? What happened? And I tried finding her and I couldn't. And I was like, oh, so strange. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like a couple months go down the line and I get a random DM from a different account and it goes, hey, I'm XYZ person. And I was like, oh, you have a new account. She's just, yeah, I switched careers. And I was like, oh, interesting. And literally she stops and goes, I saw how much passion you had for ads and realized mine didn't match up. So I went to go find that for myself. And literally, that's the one story that I literally need everybody to like hear, is just do what makes you happy and everything else will follow. Right. Like I've had some pretty hard times in my career or even just in my business where we just got screwed in ways that just was unimaginable. But the one thing that I always did was I just kept my head down and I just kept on going. And 2 years later, I'm in a position that I never thought I'd ever be in, ever. Like, it's just cool. Like, I never really thought I'd ever be on this podcast, to be entirely honest with you. I never thought I'd ever write for you or SEL or SEJ or PPC Hero. Like, all of these names are like things that I never thought I'd ever have. And all I did was just keep my head down. So keep your head down. You never know who's looking. And keep your head down because, again, like things will just work out if you just believe that things will.
Yeah.
And that was a long way of going about that, but yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think like with the last few years of something that I appreciate because I have benefited from it, where they put influencer lists together, it's all nice and fancy. And sometimes you look at this list and you're like, oh, I'll never get there because no one knows me and that kind of stuff. But it's like, put your head down, do the work, talk about the things that you're doing. Don't be nervous that it's not as big and fancy as some of the other guys that do it and put a whole Canva production together. You don't need to do that. You just literally need to say what's working for you. And as simple as it is, and the more consistently that you do it, it will be noticed. It will be noticed. And yeah, I love noticing
You can easily just go back to like how we started. Like you can look at our earlier posts and just be like, oh yeah, that was not really great. And that's just the thing with it. And the one thing I forgot to mention beforehand is that I got lucky in the fact that I had Berna Virgie before me, where she was creating content. And then I saw her doing that. And that was my thing of being like, okay, yes, I can do this too. Yeah. So hopefully I'm that for somebody else. Eventually, I'm not trying to make that like a cocky thing. Like I'm just hoping that I can inspire somebody to do the same. And then you never know, you might be that person who does that for someone else. That's just how this is supposed to go. So yeah, in my journey as well, Berna is owed some credit as well, because I wouldn't have ended up here had she not started before I did.
She's absolutely amazing. And no, you're absolutely right about, honestly, I want more people to join me. We touched on doing some of these things on our own. I don't want to be the first and last. Yeah, I want to be the first, but I want more people. I want competition. I want somebody to be like, I want to learn from someone, be like, oh, someone else is doing it. Let me also see how to do it. I love following the likes of Ameet. Oh, no, Ameet, that's you. Areed, it's fantastic. Areed, who did Woman in Tech SEO, started, and she's just grown something absolutely amazing. And now that's her full-time job, and it's international and everything. And Aisha, she herself just wants other people. She's trying to really inspire other people to do similar things. People also do meetups through her channels, and she absolutely loves that. And I think it's that absolutely great. We want more people to be seen, more women of color, more people of color, more. It's not just all the same. As much as there's loads of lovely white folks doing stuff, we don't want it to be just them. We want to show the full variety and diversity of the industry that there is. It is there. It's not if it's not there.
It's just so much more fun. Yeah, it's just more fun when there's different voices from different perspectives, from different places on the planet. Like it's a much more rich conversation, which is why I'm constantly just trying to advocate for it, where I'm not trying to be like, okay, I hate like a part of our industry. That's not it. I love those people. Everybody, our entire community is just freaking amazing. Yeah. I've spoken about that many times. Even my time after Hero Conference, I like cried for 2 days because I just couldn't believe like how lovely these people were and how great they made me feel. What a wonder. And then I just think about it and I'm like, if there's more of us, just more of us, I'm like, it would just be so much more beautiful. So yeah, if you're sitting on the fence going, hey, I want to create content and I don't know how, just try it. Send it my way. I'll read it. I don't care. Yeah. I'm willing to help. Everybody's willing to help. That's the other thing about the community is everyone's willing to help. So yeah, reach out whenever you need to and just try.
Absolutely.
Just try.
I might find a way to actually create something specifically for that on PPC Lives. Like you're thinking of putting this post up, test it out here first and then see, test it out here, that kind of thing. We'll see. I don't know. Just give myself more work to do as I usually do. Okay. Always. We're like, we have too much to do. Okay, let's do that one thing though. Just add one more thing.
It's type A women. It's always type A women.
God, I wish I was type B or type C, whatever it is. Anyway, I wouldn't change anything. To be honest, I wouldn't change anything. I love it. It's who I am. No. I embrace it. What's one great piece of advice you've been given from someone else?
I think it's the notion that nobody's really paying attention to me. So it's like that imposter syndrome that you come in where you're like, oh, everyone's watching. They're going to think my whole thing is that someone's going to call me a fraud. I don't know why. I've been in the industry long enough to be able to walk away from that, but I just can't for some reason. So for me, it's just like constantly being called out for saying something wrong. So I'm like constantly a little paranoid about that. But like for me, just hearing that from not even one person, multiple people, where it's just like, people don't care about you as much as you think that they do. And I was like, oh, okay, that's perfect. And that kind of really helped with like just going in and be like, okay, I can say that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's not horrible. It's just me saying that I'm admitting that I just didn't say something correctly or I wasn't cited properly or whatever that it might have been.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the best piece of advice that I ever got, because it was just like one of those moments where I got to shift my brain and be like, okay, then I can say whatever I want and we can just see what happens. And it's worked out relatively well for me so far.
Yeah.
No complaints.
Amazing. And since you mentioned it already, how do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Gosh, it's a process. Yeah. I still have to deal with it now, but it's just more or less of just going back and looking at what you've done, what you're proud of. So like now, every time something good happens to me, I have another screen over here and I literally just write a Post-it note.
Nice.
So now every time I just have this moment of being like, maybe I'm not good at my job. I'll look down and be like, oh, a client from 8 years ago came back to me 2 months ago and said, hey, Ameet, the account that you built 8 years ago, I haven't touched it.
Wow.
It's still producing.
Wow.
What better compliment could you get from your work? I get to audit my own work from 8 years ago in a month.
It's amazing. You think, yep, I did good.
Yeah. And then I can sit there and be like, what was I thinking? But that was 8 years ago, obviously. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, cool. Like you're making random little tweaks here and there, but it's still profitable.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's just, no, I know what I'm doing. Clearly, I knew what I was doing 8 years ago. I should be, that person's still me.
Yeah.
So yeah, keeping little notes around helps with that.
Yeah. Remind yourself of the good work that you've done. A mistake doesn't erase that. A mistake that you make and You can always recover from the mistake. Just own the mistake, learn from it, move on from it. And
It's just being human.
yeah, it is. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's really a phrase that I really love it. Like, it's feel it, even go away, but do it anyway. Keep being the better version of yourself. It's not about competing with anybody else. Keep being the better version of yourself.
We really are on the same wavelength.
Love it. We said,
like, really are. We really are on the same wavelength.
I love it. Whether you need to come back, I need to have you back, Ameet. That was such a great chat. There was several stuff that, and I knew I did this when I was sending Ameet out a list of questions. I was like, there's several of these questions we're not going to get to. There's a lot. There was a lot in there, so we need to do a part 2 of this.
Yes.
But on that note, thank you so much to everyone that's been listening to us. We're going to round up now, and Ameet, if anyone wants to follow you and ask any questions of anything that you've mentioned on here, how can they find you?
I am the AdWords girl everywhere on the internet. So mainly, my suggestion is to find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Those are the ones that I frequent the most. But yeah, AdWords girl everywhere on the internet. You can literally, there's only one of me. So.
Amazing. I love the videos you do as well. Like, whenever I get to it, I'm like, I'm going to take time to listen to this one. I just stop. I stop what I'm doing and listen to your videos. They're so
Those
funny.
are the brainchild of my marketing manager, Juliana. She's just constantly do more video. And I was like, I hate video. And she's just like, do more video. So then I have no choice.
It's amazing. I'm glad you took her advice. I'm glad you did. For any feedback about the podcast, guys, or maybe even some corrections, bring them to me. Don't start chasing me with anything that you think that you said that was wrong. Pass them through me first. Find me on LinkedIn or Twitter. My DMs are open. Find me on my name or The Marketing Anu. I'm also everywhere at The Marketing Anu. We also have a PPC Chat Roundup podcast page and group, so please find us on there as well. It would be great for any long-standing or even brand new listeners to give this podcast a review or a quick rating, even if it's on Spotify. It takes seconds to just take that 5-star rating. It can be 4 if you're really pissed off about something. Just make it 4.
No, it's 5. If it's anything lower than a 5, give us a call, please.
Oh, unless it's got to be 5. That's amazing. But yeah, go to linktree.com/PPC chat_roundup to do that. And I've also got to plug my PPC live event that's happening on the 9th of April. That from whenever you're listening to it, it'll be within a month, in a few weeks now. I'm so excited for that. It's going to be like the evening before Brighton SEO HeroConf happening on the 10th. So yeah, if you're going to be down at Brighton, think of coming a little bit earlier so that you can join us for that. Just go to ppc.live for tickets for that. Loads of great topics have been sorted out, a great location sorted out, food and drinks going to be included in the price. So yeah, we'd love to have you there. So finally, for your campaigns and businesses to glide smoothly, there's a lot of hard work needed beneath the surface. So keep your swans kicking. Bye. And thank you so much, Ameet, for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Thanks.